Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipschutz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee and co-host of the program with Bruce Miller, editor of the Sioux City Journal and a longtime entertainment reporter. And you're like a land mogul, right? Like you are the ruler of nations, even, right?
Like, do I own land? Yeah, I own a little plot where my house is. You know what I am, though, right now? I am just like bleary-eyed because there's so much content out there now to watch on streaming, on broadcast TV, on screen. There's a lot out there, and a lot of it is kind of good.
Yes.
To be honest, the newest one, 10 episodes, called Landman. Now, and you think, well, could it be Mad Men? Could it be? You look for ways to try and twist it because Landman doesn't really sound like the name of a show, but it's done by Taylor Sheridan. So Taylor Sheridan gets to do whatever he wants to do, basically.
He does.
He decided, I don't know if I need to go to Yellowstone or do any of that kind of stuff anymore. Montana's kind of drying up for me. So I am going to look at Texas. His view of Texas is different than any that I've seen. Yeah, it has a tish of Dallas and Dynasty, maybe, that kind of, high-end rich people. Okay, the high-end rich people in Landman are played by John Hamm and Demi Moore, and they play the kind of owners of an oil company. But they're not the focus. They're kind of there to cause trouble. There's always some reason why John needs to call his man on the ground. And the man on the ground, Tommy Norris, is played by Bob Thornton. And he's just this troubleshooter. He's doing everything. He's dealing with the men at the pumpers. He's dealing with the office people. He's dealing with the lawyers. He's dealing with his boss. And then he's got an ex-wife and he's got 2 kids. The ex-wife is very uninhibited, I guess is the easiest way to put it. And that will tell you why there's a rating on this show. She's played by Ali Larter, and she comes back into his life because their daughter, Ainsley, is getting to the age where she could be a real problem. She's having kind of boyfriend problems, and she's with dad, and she just wants everything. And I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. It's terrible. And so mom has to come back to kind of ride herd on her. Well, their son Cooper wants to go into the oil business. But in that world, you have to start from scratch. So he's working out in the fields just like everybody else. And he's meeting a whole different crowd of people. And it's fascinating how this show just flips along like crazy. When it starts, in the first episode, he's being held hostage, Billy Bob's character, by drug cartels.
Okay.
And he's got to deal with drug cartels. So it's showing us a Texas that I'm sure we don't know at all.
Yeah.
And then it kind of spreads out into the field. There's a fire. There's a lot that goes. And I'm mesmerized by it because it isn't just a crackling good story with a lot of great cinematography, but it has super one-liners. Ali and Billy Bob get the best one-liners. It's the kind of stuff that you would write down and tell your own kids. So just be ready. But it's a fascinating new look at a part of the country that maybe we ignored and maybe we shouldn't have ignored during the last election.
I need to get through what I'm watching on Apple TV, and then maybe that's when I set it aside for a little while, and then I'll move over to Paramount Plus and start going through the back catalog of everything Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah, because 6 months.
But everything he does sounds like stuff I'd be interested in. It's just, I could jump into Yellowstone if I wanted to already, but there's just so much going on. It's hard to keep up with everything.
Well, and then, when they have these kind of overriding families of networks,
right?
Like Hulu has everything that's Disney and ABC and whatnot.
Right.
And then you think, well, was this on Hulu? And then Paramount has everything, CBS and that kind of world. And then you have Peacock, which has everything from NBC. So there's a lot to try and mush together. I've got like channels that you'll never get because they're just double secret private ones where they send shows through. I have no clue as to where I can find some of these. Anyway, Taylor Sheridan wrote this with Billy Bob in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I talked with Billy Bob a couple of times actually before the start of this about wearing the hood over his head in one interview, and he said it's very claustrophobic, and that drives me crazy. But he said it also was very calming because I couldn't see anybody else except the hood. So he said that was a different kind of thing. But I got a chance to talk to him about working in Texas because he did years ago in Friday Night Lights and what that whole world is like now and his place in that world.
Billy Bob, how has Texas changed since you did Friday Night Lights there? Is it a lot different today?
It hasn't changed that much, although Odessa has put in a pretty darn good hotel. We shot some out there, and when I was there, I was in something that, let's just say it was lesser quarters. But West Texas pretty much stays West Texas, and the people are so part of that land, and I think Fort Worth has changed over the years because I've been going there since I was a kid. We're mainly in and around Fort Worth, and that town is really booming. And so I noticed that.
Watching this, I got a different picture of Texas than I've seen in other situations. Is that what we're going to learn about mostly? Is that we're going to see that Texas isn't this kind of odd state that's out there, that really there are people like us throughout the whole thing?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that was one of the things. I had a couple of people visit who were a little hesitant. They said, "Oh, if I come to Texas, isn't it scary?" or something like that. And then they get to Fort Worth and they've got and they go in some 5-star restaurant and it's like much more cosmopolitan. I mean, more cowboy hats than you might find in, New York or Chicago. But other than that, I mean, it's, I think people will get a different glimpse of Texas. I mean, but you'll also see the part I was talking earlier about the movie Giant, which this reminds me of maybe
Exactly.
Right? This is maybe a little bit scarier Giant, but those kinds of personalities and being out there in the flatlands of West Texas and in the wind and everything, you'll see that part. And I don't think since then, I mean, every now and then you'll see a movie that takes place in the desert or something, but West Texas has its own thing to it, and not everybody's seen it.
When you come onto a project and you have this great writing background, is there a hesitation to say anything to you about can you change any line you want?
Well, I would say more so than that, because Taylor wrote this in my voice. I mean, he told me he was going to.
Oh, you can see it in a minute.
And so, I mean, when I read the first couple of scripts, I was like, well, this kind of fits like a glove, So I didn't really need to change much. I would say rather than changing things more often, I would add something, like just, in other words, at the end of a scene, if I felt like saying something, because, I'm a pretty improvisational actor. And so there are a few things that I would throw in there just because I thought it was appropriate or felt it in the moment. And the ones that Taylor liked, and he liked quite a few of them, then they stayed in, and if he thought it wasn't appropriate maybe for that scene, then it didn't stay. So that was all fair, and I had a really good relationship with him over the writing.
So you're a good fit. Also the music, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're involved with the music as well. But how is your pinky finger?
Oh, somehow it magically grew back together, Bruce.
Thank you so much. Have a great one, and thank you for this series. It's wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you like it. We got high hopes.
Thanks for that interview. Billy Bob, he's been doing TV now off and on. I mean, Fargo was another one where I just loved him in that series when he was there.
And he had Goliath, if you saw that. So he's had a lot of things. And he said, well, like so many of these actors that were big in the movies, the more interesting stuff is on streaming right now. And that's why they all are kind of headed there.
I could see sometimes with maybe certain actors, you just want to do a 2-hour movie, 3-hour movie, whatever it is, in and out and be done. But I could also see the advantages of doing a 10-episode season where you can really tell a story.
And it may take just as long to make both of them.
Right. And there's money. It's not like the old days where it would be low budget, cheesy sets, that kind of thing. This is This is movie money getting behind these things.
This is movie money, and it shows on the screen.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny when you look back, even in the 70s and 80s films, and you think, gee, how tacky is that set? And now they're just doing things in real homes and real locations.
Yeah.
So it's like you're there.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on one Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody in the elevator says, Happy Friday! Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, Happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
So you do have another interview also, correct?
I do. Ali Larter, who plays his wife, and she's a piece of work, if you will. She's his ex-wife. She still thinks she's a player, even though she's a little older, and she uses what she has to her advantage. And she wants to go to the country club that John Hamm is a member of. And so then she just kind of harasses Billy Bob to get her in. And she and her daughter, and the daughter is just a little tease. She can get away with it. So the two of them set up shop at this country club. Incidents happen and all this kind of stuff. Ali thinks the part is so much fun to play.
Ali, would you talk to me about cell phone acting? We see you on a cell phone a lot of times. How is that? What's that like?
We actually shot it like 4 months into filming because we were waiting on the weather to turn to get to Cabo. To shoot Cabo for Texas. So I had already been playing. I had shot almost 8 episodes of the show before we went back to the very beginning just to pop those off. And have you only seen the first one?
Oh, no, I've seen like 4 of them. Yes.
Oh, so you know. Okay,
I get you at the country club.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's like, but it was, it was quick and it was easy. I mean, Taylor came in and directed all the FaceTimes. And, when you live in Texas, the reality is that you spend a tremendous amount of time driving in your car, especially if you're a landman. So that's the reality of Billy's life. And so that's how they kind of introduce my character into it, that I'm always driving him a little bit crazy.
There are very distinct women in this, too. I mean, very different types. Were you familiar with that? Were you familiar how different they really are in Texas?
Yes, for sure. And I think it's very real. We were filming in Fort Worth, which is the land of oil and cowboys. So, we met a lot of the women that are within the world of oil, and they're elegant and they're beautiful and so incredibly chic. And then, there are also the women that are like it's super blonde, and the tighter the jeans and the higher the heels, the better it is. So it's really was fun to kind of craft all these different women. And I feel like Angela is, she's emotional, wildcat. She loves to, play hard. She always gets herself in trouble, but she also thinks she's the best mother, even when she's a little bit misdirected.
Is she pushing her daughter down a wrong path? Do you say, oh, you better watch out here?
I don't judge my characters.
Where do you find the key to find her? Before you start playing her on a day's time, what is the key to her?
Well, I mean, look, I think that when you deal with someone and a relationship that started in the world of oil, that means that there's booms and there's busts. So the fact that Angela and Tommy have been through this bust, it's definitely impacted all their choices in their life. So when you've been through that kind of, when your world crumbles and what you're willing to do to make sure that your children are taken care of, and then she's starting to find her voice again. And that's something that I think is really interesting to watch with her.
What about the mother-son relationship? I haven't seen much of that.
It's different because, Angela is trying to guide Ainsley to make sure her life is protected, and she's doing it the best way that she knows how. With Cooper, he's entering into the world like his father, wanting to be a landman, and so she doesn't want anything to happen to him. So part of it is being back with her family and trying to hold everyone back together.
Is this the most fun you've had in a while? I mean, it looks like you're having a ball.
Yes, I mean it's a ball, and it's hard, but it's the most rewarding. It's like, who wants a layup? Not me. I mean, we're all giving 110% on this show, and I think you can really feel it.
And what's it like with Billy Bob?
Oh, he's fantastic. He's so professional. He's so good at what he does. He's generous. And you just watch him, and he doesn't have a false step. He's just a really gifted actor.
And do you have hopes for your character? Do you hope she gets out of this world, or do you think that'll never happen?
I don't think that will ever happen. I think she's coming home.
Oh, so we're seeing more of her here. I get you. Well, hey, thank you so much. And I love the character. I think she's so great. But you might want to keep the clothes on, sometimes.
Paul Taylor. It's not my choice.
Thank you so much.
Bruce, thanks again for that interview.
I got a lay of the land. I got to talk to a lot of the people that are in this show. I also talked to Jacob Laughlin, who plays their son, Cooper. And I think this kid, he pops in this show. He is going to be one that you go, oh, wait a minute, this guy's getting work. This kid will get big movie roles because he has that kind of, even just if they hold the camera on his face, you get a whole bunch of emotions out of it. And the daughter, Michelle Randolph, she's fun too. But if you look in here, you're going to find people that maybe you haven't seen for a while. Mark Colley, if that name rings a bell, used to be, or maybe still is, a country western singer. And I remember him back in the 80s where he would come through on, those tours where there'd be like three names in a lineup.
Oh, right.
And now he is an actor in this show. He plays the lawman, not the landman, but the lawman in this West Texas town. He also provided some of the music, and so did Billy Bob for Landman. So you see they get a chance to kind of stretch a little bit more, and it's not just my one note. There's a lot of notes here.
Okay. Nice.
A lot to be thankful for.
For those of you listening to this episode, sit back. A lot of programs, a lot of content out there to get caught up on, and a lot more to come as this year winds down.
And get into the movie theaters because Gladiator 2 opens.
Yes.
And then last night I watched Anora. I don't know if you heard about Anora. It was the Cannes Film Festival award-winning film.
Okay.
That's going to be a player. It's in theaters now. You'll find it all around. Wild about a stripper who falls in love or has a relationship with the son of a Russian oligarch.
Oh, wow.
And how the parents are not happy that he is wanting to stay in the United States and be with his wife instead of coming back home. Okay. And so what they have to do to try and break this up and what spills out for her.
Okay. I need to take a vacation just to watch all this stuff.
Get all those Christmas movies too that are coming.
Right. On that note, go back, hit the fridge, get some leftover turkey, or get ready for Thanksgiving. Throw on a little Paramount Plus, a little HBO Max, or I'm sorry, Max. It's just Max these days, right? Apple TV Plus, Hulu. Get into the theater, go see Wicked, and have a great weekend. And we will be back again next week with another episode of Stream and Screen.
And we're thankful for you who listen.
Absolutely.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on one Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody in the elevator says, Happy Friday! Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, Happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.